Welcome to the MMHP and the 989. Podcasting from the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame in downtown Bay City. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history. From the city by the bay. And now, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and your host, Scott Baker.
Well, we're back here at the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame here in Bay City, Michigan, broadcasting live to you guys. Taped and prepared to order, looks like our MMHP 989 podcasts have been. We are here in season 4, and we are actually in the planning stages of having our first show coming up. And we have a very special guest on that show, and he is a legendary, well, they say Zydeco man because it's part of the name. But I've heard this man play the deepest blues, some of the greatest Cajun music. He's live almost all the time on Facebook, or throwing out treats in the middle of the night to you. And that's when I used to usually catch him. Mr. Zydeco Ziggie from Saginaw. How you doing, my friend?
Real good. How are you, Scott?
Good. Can we get your whole real name? Because I don't think anybody knows
my whole
that.
real name?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hidden in the archives of the post office with my picture.
Next to Fred's.
Right, next to Fred's. No, my real name is Don Zeitler. Years ago when I was young, people started calling me Ziggie because of my last name. And I guess I've morphed into a Ziggie, over the years.
That's awesome.
So be it,
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for coming to the show and sharing your tales. We have not had any Cajun-based blues or any tales locally, and it's something that we've long wanted you to be here. So it's totally working out great. And
thank you.
Hopefully you can be on the show coming up. And we got Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike in the house, and we're going to be throwing a lot of questions your way. But I'm going to let Fred start firing off because he's got a personal history with you. So let's hear some of these stories.
Well, Zaid, we've known each other probably at least 50 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know.
Been a long time.
And we used to play with John Kohut and Bill Pringle and Your Average Natural Act.
That's right, yeah.
But when I met you, you were already playing guitar. So
yeah.
When did you first pick up the guitar?
Well, my first system was actually drums, and I did that for a couple years. And after I got started late, and I didn't know how to read the music real well. I quit, because I didn't want anybody to know that I didn't know how to read the music that well. And I think it was just a couple months after that. I think it was, if I recall right, around when I was 13, my neighbor said, hey, I'm taking piano lessons. She gives guitar lessons. So I, approached my parents about it, and they said, yeah, go ahead. So we bought a guitar, a little Harmony Stella, and my guitar teacher was actually a piano teacher, not a guitar player per se, but I learned the rudiments. And then we used to go up to a lake in Mecosta, Michigan all the time, Round Lake Resort, and there were two sides to the lake of the park. It was, and one side was permanent trailers that were all year round. The other side was travel trailers. So every week, someone would come in there, somebody new playing guitar. And that's where I learned how to play a lot of the more current stuff, and got a lot of my early education. It was just from people coming through, because every campfire, or somebody had a campfire, would have a guitar every week. And a lot of my buddies up there played, and it could just kind of progress from there,
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hemlock, Michigan.
Okay. And you went to school, all your school years in Hemlock?
In Hemlock, I graduated from Hemlock, Michigan, and also the guy who I played with probably more than anybody in my whole life, Perry English, he grew up in Hemlock too. We were both Hemlock boys, so, and we got 50 years together also.
Well, what kind of music got you interested in playing yourself?
Well, the thing that really struck me was blues. But when I was real young, my parents always had Hank Williams on the record player, and I truly believe that his voice is very bluesy to me, and I think that's what really, kind of hooked me in. I always, then when I started playing guitar, the first thing that really hit me was blues. I mean, I think I got something like a Johnny Winters album, something like that, with maybe one of my first blues albums, and then found out, well, Johnny listened to Muddy, and on and on
Sure.
and on, and I started listening to most of the black artists, and that's what I liked. And when I heard Muddy Waters, that was like Muddy hung the moon on the sky,
Yeah. I got to be a fan of the blues once I heard Muddy and Howlin' Wolf.
Oh,
Those
Muddy
are
just blew me
my
away.
two favorites when it comes down to blues.
My favorite album to this day is probably the same favorite album as when I first listened to Muddy Waters.
I remember you traveled down to the Carolinas with me when we took Dr. Ross.
Sure did, yeah. What a great time that was. Yeah, I had some wonderful
The
experiences.
one-man band.
Yeah, talking with Dr. Ross, and after he sent me letters, and I always enjoyed his letters.
Well, how did you guys meet then? What was the first time you met, Fred?
I
You and
don't-
Ziggy?
I
would
have no- I
think
don't
probably
remember.
through John Cole.
Probably.
Yeah, I would think.
I used to play with John Kohut, who was an accordion player, singer, songwriter, and we were partners in Black Kettle.
Well, sure. That's where I got to know John. I was.
Oh, you knew him?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
As a
okay.
customer of Black Kettle, I bought a number of records there, and went to see John play. I'm not sure if you were playing with him or not. It was at I think it was Walcott's Frontier or something like that, out on Broadway.
No, I used to book the flies in there, though.
Yeah, well, I think that's where I was probably there to see a fly show. I don't know if he
Oh, okay.
opened up or. I remember I still have the 45 Coffee Blues.
Oh,
Yeah, the
yeah,
jazz
we put out
recordings.
145.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ziggy has a couple records, or that one by the Tough, or no, what is it? Something in the Tough Band. It was blue-
Terrible T, the Tough
Terrible
Band.
T.
Yeah, oh yeah. They recorded the Tough Band recorded at my studio, my recording studio I had years ago, and
The McRae brothers, who I
McRae
took
brothers.
out
Oh,
them
yeah.
to back up Lazy Lester
Yeah.
out to his
did
studio.
recordings with Sheree Williams. A lot of people. I mean, I think at that time, I think it was. I'm not sure if there was even another recording studio around at that time. Was there?
I don't.
Back
Was,
in the
was your
80s?
studio in Hemlock?
It was
No.
actually in Thomas Township, which
Oh, by Freeland. Then.
yeah, it is Thomas and Foster, which is kind of like, Hemlock Schools, Saginaw phone, Freeland address, on the outskirts of everything.
It's like a Hampton.
Yeah, I always called it kind of like the Devil's Triangle.
I think you told me you also, back in the 60s or early 70s, played in a couple rock bands.
Oh yeah. Matter you spoke of the Flies. Some of those guys like James Copine, Tom Dolson, and Johnny. I played with them and Johnny and the Boomers. And at one time we were called the Swinging Caucasians, which we got a lot of flack being the Swinging Caucasians from white folks, but the black folks liked us.
Oh, man. So you played with Johnny and the Boomers.
Oh, yeah.
We used to go see them at, where did they play in Saginaw? What was the name
Played
of
at
it?
the Old Town.
Yeah, it was the Old Town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. we
So
played it for a long time.
you were a member of the band for a
Oh
while?
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
trying to think if you were there, or if you were playing when I saw them.
It could have been, then I kind of went off and did my own thing later on, and people started calling me to do my stuff, and kind of got to be a conflict with them. I think when they wanted me to do my stuff, and they said, well, why don't we just all play together some of your stuff? But I knew if we would have done that, it would have been more of Johnny's show probably. Ended up being more of that because that's what we knew together. And being that they asked for me, I didn't think it was probably the right thing to do.
Right.
But I enjoyed playing with those guys a lot, and they're still great friends to
Was
this day.
Mike Laviolette in the band when you were?
No.
No?
He came in I think he played with them a little bit before I got in the band, and after I was out of there, he came back in, I believe. Yeah, and I think I came back and played a few gigs with him when Mike couldn't make it, And yeah, I knew Mike too. Mike actually did a few things in my studio back then too, asked for some help on some things. He had his own recording studio with some things I could do that he didn't have equipment for, or something like that, if I remember right too. But yeah.
Now, you've done some teaching through the Ollie program
I have, yeah.
at Saginaw Valley, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And those were mostly like teaching people how to play harmonica and guitar?
Guitar, harmonica. I believe I did a uke class. I think those three, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I taught for 19 years through the Ollie program.
Okay.
I would
cool.
do rock and roll history classes
Okay,
there.
cool.
But I remember seeing your name in the in the catalogs
Yeah.
offering classes and so on.
Yeah, and we did something a little different because we had our own building. Because we had the White Crow, and I asked them, well, could we have them just come over here? They said, sure. I think they jumped to that idea just because they didn't have to have another building for it.
Well, that's true.
Some
Yeah.
money probably too.
Yeah, it's always hard, to get a classroom out there.
Right.
So, especially, maybe a music-related one. I'm not,
Right.
certain
Yeah.
they're really set up for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Are you still doing that off and on, or?
Well, I'm not doing the Ollie, but I've been teaching privately for 50 years too. I started real young, teaching people around the neighborhood and stuff like that, and it went on and on. I taught just about every music store in the area. Very few I didn't. If they didn't, it got to the point where my relationship. I think because they knew that they could count on me because I took it pretty serious. It got to the point I didn't have to pay studio rent at someplace. Whoever offered me the best deal, that's where you go. If you didn't have to pay studio rent, that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very fortunate. That last two places I didn't have to, and then after one of them closed down, I said, well, I think I'll do my own thing. That's when we acquired the White Crow Conservatory of Music.
Well, why don't you guys tell us about this Dr. Ross trip? I mean, Dr. Ross is a big favorite of mine. I'm kind of anxious to hear what you have to say about the doctor.
Well, I had booked 3 or 4 gigs,
Yeah.
I think. One of them was a concert in South Carolina, and another one was at Blind Willie's in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
I can't remember the other one.
I think what was the one in North Carolina too?
Could have been, probably.
I think we might have done both of those, and then.
But we
Blind
were
Willie's.
I think I had my Ford Escort.
Yeah.
Did you sit in the back?
No, I did most of the driving.
Oh,
I think I drove nonstop from
Maybe
Atlanta,
I sat in
Georgia,
the back.
while everybody was sleeping.
Yes.
Because I was the insomniac, so it wasn't no problem for me to stay up.
yeah, that was a very successful tour for Doc.
Yeah.
He,
It's a good time.
the guy who promoted it in Charleston, South Carolina, we're still in touch almost on a daily basis.
Cool.
But we talk about that sometimes. Just
Yeah.
I can't remember some things, and
Yeah.
Did you guys both sit in with Dr. Ross?
no, or I didn't.
No. I
can't
remember,
remember.
Dr. Ross asked me if I'd like to sit up on stage with him when we perform, but I said, no, I don't want to do that. It's your show. I don't want to interfere with his show, Why do I need to be up there,
Yeah, we handled things pretty well by himself.
Yeah.
I know when I saw him at
Yeah.
the Ann Arbor Blues Festival, I was just knocked out. It was so good.
Yeah.
Well, you had a blues radio show
I
too.
did.
didn't you?
I had a blues radio show over at Delta. I had different radio shows. I probably have the quirkiest radio career because I started out actually. My first show I did a gig for Delta, and the guy from Delta was Mark Domsick, and he asked me if I had any. Because I was doing Cajun stuff. I played some fiddle and some guitar and stuff like that, doing mostly Cajun stuff. And they hired me for the Cajun thing, and he asked if I had a lot of Cajun and Zydeco CDs. He says, yeah, I have a fair amount of them. And he said, would you like to come in and do a show? I said, sure. So I brought some in, and I came in there. And he says, well, my boss likes this idea. It was Howard Sharper at the time, and he says, would you like to do this every week? I says, sure, let's do it. So I had a Cajun and Zydeco radio show, and Mark and I did that for a while. Then we did another show together, was the blues show, which was called Blues Roots, and it was an afternoon show in the middle of the week. If you get a couple years out of a show like that, you're doing pretty good.
Right, was it hour long? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had the blues show for a couple years, and then after that, Susan and I had a show in Fenton, a little small station, little center block building called WCXI, if I remember correctly. And we did that for a few years. Then the last show I did was an Irish show with Susan again.
Tell us about Susan. I think the listening audience might want to know your significant other. She's a pretty amazing musician herself.
Oh, she's an incredible musician. She just recently got one of her songs posted in American Songwriter magazine. She won a 4th place in that contest, and pretty proud of her.
Excellent.
She's doing a gig in Mount Pleasant today, and sometimes we're going in different directions, of course, but yeah, she's incredible lyricist and great vocalist. I can never say enough about Susan's vocals. I'm envious of her vocal ability.
Well, you and her travel quite a bit.
Oh yeah. We did. We hardly played in Michigan for a number of years. We playing like out east New York and Wisconsin. If we were in Michigan, it was mostly in the UP. Down south, Mississippi, Louisiana, which was always nice because we could. I could combine doing the Irish stuff and do blues gigs down there too. So I can combine both of those things together. And,
I'm curious about the UP shows. What kind of music did they like you to play up there?
Well, Susan and I did mostly Irish music.
Which is what you still do mostly together.
With Susan, it's mostly Irish music. Now, my stuff, I do mostly blues, Cajun, and Zydeco. And we started playing the Chamberlain Inn a lot up there. And Susan and I started doing that, and after a while, Susan kind of dropped out. Susan doesn't really like to play in barroom settings a whole lot. We do mostly theaters, like up there, Peter White Library, places like that, and festivals. And I play, and then I started just doing the gig by myself, up there. Now I'm playing another place in Gould City called the Bates Motel. Which is interesting, and you're thinking of the movie.
Well, Psycho, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that's their last names. Because actually, my niece owns the place, and who's a lovely lady, and she claims that her first album she ever had was one of mine, and she so she wanted me up there to play, too, and it goes well up there. And I don't just perform up there. I teach up there because I've been playing up there so long. And I'm also doing recording work at another guy's studio up there. So when I'm up there, I'm working it,
Yeah.
So it's pretty busy. And Bates Motel, I just got to tell you the story of Bates Motel because they actually did one room they called the Psycho room, where looking like blood in the bathtub and everywhere. So that was a lot of times that's my room I stay in a lot of times. But we had a little fun with it when my first night of staying in that particular room. We went in there. We made a video of ourselves. We're in the tub doing some songs. We come up with a song. We come up with. There's blood on the wall. We just come up with a quick song, a ditty, and we record about 3 songs in the bathtub with looking like blood on and we posted that on Facebook, and of course everybody loved that. So we had a little fun with that,
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
So a little sense of humor there once in a while goes a long way.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have been together. You guys are also on Smoking Sled Dog Records, right?
Yep. I'm on the Smoking Sled Dog and Togo Touring Artist
Togo
label.
Touring Artists
Yeah.
out of Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
Good friends, man.
Jamie Sue.
Jamie Sue, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm going to stop you now and maybe can you give us, I'm going to ask you for a couple of requests tonight.
Okay.
Can you give us an Irish song followed by a Zydeco song?
Okay. I'm not set up on an Irish song on guitar just because I never play guitar on Irish music. I always play bouzouki.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If had I known, I could have brought my bouzouki.
I was just thinking, let's get a little of all these flavors that you can give us.
Yeah.
So
and I'm not the Irish singer. Susan.
Sure.
You know, and to be honest with you, we come from different directions musically a lot. I'm how do you want to say it? Probably more of a scholar musician, and she's more of a folk musician. So, and there's nothing wrong with. They're both great. Don't get me wrong. So when she plays, she usually plays the song pretty much the same way every time. When I play behind her, or every time I play, I come from a very strong blues background and a bit of jazz, and so I'm an improviser. So even when we do Irish music, I'm always improvising. And Susan will always tell the audience, if you hear this, you see me looking at Zig, it's because I'm hearing this for the first time just like you are. and it's probably true. So my whole relationship with Irish music is I don't want to play until I hear what she sings, because my idea is I want to embellish her voice all the time.
Awesome.
Until I hear her sing, then I know what I want to play. Yeah, that's really how I play.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, give us something original from your Zydeco Ziggie side to start, and then we'll
when I write, I usually write with the harp and the guitar at the same time. It's actually become an integral part of my style, what I do. Grab the right harmonica.
I love just getting on Facebook about 11 or 12 at night, and sometimes you're, boop, here comes Zig.
Yeah, and a lot of those are improvisations. Sometimes I don't even have a clue what I want to do, and I just, I'm going to do something. See what I come up with. Come up with a lyric off the top of my head. But that's the fun of it.
What kind of harmonicas are those?
Well,
Looks
different. This set here is a set of, let's see, what do I have in my car? These are called Blues Masters. These are actually Suzuki, which is unusual. Suzuki. Yeah, I like these because they're a little mellower sometimes. I mean, most of the time I'm playing Hohner Marine bands. Right. I mean, this is my car set, which I decided to use today. And for a situation like this here, I think works a little nicer because the Hohners get a little shrill, a little bit loud, too loud. This kind of blends with the guitar a little bit more. And, I find in some settings, like if I'm doing something like a nursing home and something like that, it's not quite so shrill, and it blends in a little better, and you don't have to mix it so much, Okay, this is a little tune called Abigail. This is pretty much a blues thing. Yeah, feel free to adjust that if the harp's too loud or something. I met a girl down at the county jail. I met a girl down at the county jail. She's a pretty little girl, her name is Abigail. Abigail, she got those tricks for sleep. Abigail, she got those tricks for sleep. She's still your heart. I think she'll keep alright. Abigail, she's down at the county jail. Well, Abigail, I say now, yeah. I love that woman, she's down at the county. I love that again, down at the county. I love that again, she's down at the county. I love that woman, I just won't know her.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a great song. That's an original?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
You got a Cajun one that you can pull up for us right now?
Yeah, I do. Let's do. It's probably the one of the first Cajun songs I ever wrote. I seem to enjoy it a lot. A little tune called Cajun Girl. You've always asked for this one.
So this is the first Cajun song you ever wrote?
It is, yes.
All right, what year would that have been? You know,
Wow.
maybe just a broad estimate.
I would say somewhere in the 80s,
Okay.
maybe early 80s, maybe.
Is that when you got
Maybe.
interested in that style of music?
I think I always was, because I hear Cajun music every once in a while. I know you like more mainstream stuff, probably like Doug Kershaw,
yeah.
people like that. But and I got more and more interested in it, and I did my first tour of Louisiana. We were down there for a month, down on the bayou. We stayed in a double wide house trailer on the bayou, and had a wonderful time. And then we went to New Orleans, and I actually got to sit in with the Cajun band down there, and I was kind of hooked. And did take a couple years there. I'm thinking, why isn't anybody doing this up north? Something's wrong here. So I took the initiative to try to get some people together to do it. And well, actually, when Perry and I started playing together one time, I started incorporating some of that stuff, and people were really hitting on us. And well, let's just kind of go for this. So that's kind of what we did, Cajun and Zydeco, and we had some Cajuns in the band. We started just Perry and I, two-piece. Then we had a five-piece band, and I played fiddle, another guy played fiddle, and I played some accordion. We had actually had a Cajun accordion player. Had a few Cajuns in the band now and then, and I don't know, most people don't know this, I think, but because of the Dow plant here, there's also a Dow plant on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
Some of those people migrated, so we got some found people over there, and they used to have a bunch of them. They used to put on a wonderful party every year with the authentic food. It was good.
Some crawfish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was good stuff. Yeah. And,
What's this one called, Ziggy?
this is called Cajun Girl.
Oh, yeah, Cajun Girl.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You want to play some rubboard on this, Fred?
I can.
Yeah, Fred.
Remember that song? I was thinking.
He's been waiting
I
for
miss
this
it.
for 2.5 years, you realize.
Might stand a ways away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but while Fred's hooking that up, how many records do you have out now? Give us an idea and what.
You have to ask Susan that. She claims I have 20-some things out.
Okay, I knew you had a lot.
Yeah.
But some are Cajun, some are Zydeco, some are blues. Some
Yeah, all different. Some of them even rock and roll. One year, we were horsing around rehearsing the band. This was with some different people at that time. That was with Kevin Oswald, and I believe it was Steve Vincent. And at that time, we were just horsing around and started playing a rockabilly tune, and we had a good time with it. So one year we decided, let's do a rockabilly album for fun. So we did that, and that was a lot of fun too.
Oh, well, yeah. Can we hear one of those tunes later on? You got
if
one
I
of
can
those in
remember
your hip
words.
pocket?
That's the trick, going back to remember all these things.
Yep.
Okay, so ready for this, or? Cajun girl, Cajun girl, you know I love you. I want a little Cajun girl on the Grand Bayou. Little girl, where you been so long? I want a little Cajun girl, baby, come on. Oh, 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 she's my little Cajun girl, and I love her so. She's my little Cajun girl, I never leave her alone. Les moments, j'ai l'amour. Ma petite fille au lait, maman, big grandma, London c'est, ma jolie maman, ma petite fille au lait, maman, big violent. Oh, 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 she my little Cajun girl, and I love her so. She's my little Cajun girl, I never leave her alone. Cajun girl, and I love her so. She's my little Cajun girl, I never leave her alone. Tous les moments, j'ai l'amour. Ma petite fille au lait, maman, pipi, grandma, London c'est, ma jolie maman, ma petite fille au lait, maman, pipi, violent. Oh, 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 she my little Cajun girl, and I love her so. She's my little Cajun girl, I never leave her alone.
Awesome.
Thank you, Zig. Thank you, Fred.
All right.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah.
Trying to sound quiet.
It was great. I had the mix going. It was fine.
Cool.
Really good. Oh, what a song.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No, where were you getting? Were you just learning the phoetics, or did you know the words, or when you started doing the French parts?
Oh, I learned a lot of lyrics in the French part. Actually, came from hanging around with some of the Cajun folks that were in the band.
And you knew what they meant.
No, I
No,
did
it was
not.
phonetics then. You were just grabbing the words.
Oh no, I know what they mean.
Oh.
I know what they mean. But while we were on the road, you know, the one Cajun accordion player we had, we got to be real real close friends, and he would teach me a lot of the words. I said, well, how can I get this, do this, and, you know, what's the right way to, how do I sing this, you know, how do I get the words, and I used, you know, Cajun dictionary and stuff like that, and I don't know a whole lot of it, but I know enough to find what I need for my songs and stuff like that. You know,
it definitely had the vibe that I'm familiar with, I guess, for when my ears have heard it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also you had a very smoothness with it. You knew the blending of it real well, and it's really catchy, you know. Yeah,
well, I think it's real important if you're going to do something like that. You really have to dig into the language, you know, not just the phonetics of it, but you need to know what those words mean and understand it, you know, and you hang around with those guys, you know, after a while you start slurring your words and everything else, and we do the same thing when Susan and I do Irish stuff. By the time we get back from a tour, we start talking pretty funny sometimes, you know, too, you know, because you're hanging around all these people, you start picking up on it subconsciously, I believe, you know. And so, and she sings in Gaelic, of course, and I do the French thing, but this is Cajun French, which is not like French over France. I mean, it's similar but different. Mm-hmm. I think there's an old story about Clifton Chenier went on a tour, and they were teasing him because he was singing in French, and it came time to eat something. He said, well, I'll order for you. We were in France touring, so we ordered them all raw fish. I don't know if you ever heard that story.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. But
so it's a different French compared to like the French Canadian.
Oh, it's a dialect. It's just like it's like any other language. You know, like like English, we talk different here than the deep South. In New York, they have an accent. You know, up in the UP, you know, I mean, everywhere you go, you know.
It's cool to hear your seasoned voice though, blend it and just so naturally. Yeah, I was just
Thank you.
And it's always been fun to listen to you like that. But I finally got a chance to ask you about it. So
I guess one of the highest points in my life, we were the front band for Buckwheat Zydeco. I got to meet Buckwheat, and one thing too I got to explain: a diatonic harmonica is tuned exactly like a Cajun accordion, so all that stuff is real easy to do on here. You know, so it's like I used to play some accordion, but because of economics, I have a smaller piece band, so I can just do all the sounds on here. And that day I had only a 3-piece band. I said to Buck, I can't play accordion because I got to play guitar too, and I guess I do it on harmonica. He said, well, you got to do what you got to do. That's cool. But after we got him playing, Buckwheat actually complimented me about 3 or 4 times during his set, which I just thought, I guess that's my graduation or whatever. You know?
His washboard player is the one who told me where to get mine made.
Who did?
His washboard player.
Okay. Oh yeah.
At the time.
Yeah. I bought mine from Larry Miller down in Louisiana. Was another.
Yeah, mine was
player.
Larry Coleman or something.
Really?
But he also made Clifton Cheniers, and he made a lot of the Zydeco, original Zydeco guys.
Yeah, actually I got my accordion. One of my accordions I bought from Larry, the other one was Slim Ballard.
Oh.
Yeah. And I went to a jam one time to Mark Savas, his shop, you know, it was just a small shop. All those accordion players. You know, I always
makes them, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's probably the top builder, accordion builder, but whenever people tell me they're going to Louisiana and want to know where to go, it's just find the accordion player, so tell you where to go. That's what you do. You know?
Wow. Man, fantastic, Zig. This is great to hear all this different stuff and the tour stories and everything. And that's the end of part 1 with Mr. Zydeco Ziggie, the Cajun blues and Zydeco master from mid-Michigan. We hope you come back for part 2 here in 2 weeks, where we're going to have him explore more songs, fill in his backstory, and add some of his slight Irish dynamic to the mix for what's going on in his future with Susan. And we want to thank you all for listening. Come back in 2. This has been a great first for us. We'll see you soon.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP 989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. Don't forget to look for Mr. Mike's local music live series, posted frequently on MMHP's Facebook hub, as well as Scott's Mid-Mitten 15 from Harvest Canteen, featuring one-on-one interviews with Michigan music artists. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, Mr. Mike at YouTube at Mr. BT1. That's MRBTEE and the number 1. Brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of our hosts, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and myself, this podcast wouldn't have been here without the voice of the MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, the generosity of the Bay County Historical Museum, which hosts the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame, as well as this podcast, Mr. Alan Garcia, all of our guests.